Hello, Dr. Meng Lee. Thank you so much for having us here today in your office to discuss the education sector here in Cambodia, as well as the role of your company specifically and what it plays within that sector. So to start off very broad, how would you describe the overall state of the education sector in Cambodia today? And what would you say are some of maybe the most pressing challenges that are faced by both educators and students alike?
I see. Thank you so much. Yes. Cambodia today is much better than decades ago, 5 years ago. The Ministry of Education in this mandate, they pretty much focus on improving education sector overall, both in the urban area and rural area. They implement many good points to improve education, making sure that we are in competitiveness with the neighboring country. And by doing that, I think the government have implemented certain points to make sure that they are well implemented. It's a matter of whether or not they can do it, whether or not they do it fast enough, and whether or not they are able to do it and with the available sources to do it. But the government in good hand in making sure that it will apply and work out well. So I think that the education sector in good hand, but I think it's the speed of evolving. That's what we worry about, and the lack of resources, the lack of qualified teacher, the lack of facility, and the disparity between the private schools and the public school, the rural school and the urban school. And we have to make sure we look into all those things, because there's still a lot of discrepancy and disparity between the rural and the urban area. And the lack of technology, the lack of qualified teacher, and the modernity of it. There's a lot to tackle on. So I hope that the government will pay a lot of attention on that. And the teacher and student, there's always parents scrutinizing and looking for school, which school can better educate their student, their kids, and the kid looking for which school they can better assimilate and adapt it to and learn better. So it's a matter of how well each school perform and how well each school prepare and equip students with a better tool for education. So to me, I think that the ministry have been doing their work. The parents have to do their work also, and educators have to do their work equally to make it work for the better of Cambodian and Cambodian education system here.
Yes, definitely. It has to be a collective effort for sure.
I hope that in the near future they will have better collaboration between private and public with the PPP, public-private partnership, in a way that we can channel funds and support from public to private, from private to public school, in exchanging idea and exchanging knowledge, and also maybe just like sister school, and so that we can help each other to improve, if not funding, maybe in technology, tools and idea, so that to support each other. The government has initiated some of that, and it's a matter of time that it will work. PPP in certain way, I don't know, but the complete PPP would take time, and the government might not look into it, but I think they have some form of PPP, like the new generations that they're doing. That's another form. So it's working well for that, and I think the minister is working hard on implementing that, yes.
Right, right. All those points you mentioned, I'd love to go into more later on. But first, of course, I think we have to talk a little bit about the past few years and what the whole world has been going through. How bad do you think the impact of COVID-19, the pandemic, was on Cambodia's education sector? Because we know worldwide schools shut down and whole sectors were closed. And have you also been able to observe any long-term impacts on the sector here?
Well, COVID period from 2019 to 2023, it was a drastic, horrible time for every sector. Education is also impacted drastically, but we're very fortunate that we get the support from the Prime Minister in different way. and he gave good advice on how to operate in a way that a school can survive. But despite of all the support from him, from the bank, from the community, from the parent, a lot of schools still go bankruptcy that time. And if not go bankruptcy, they reduce their campuses, or they reduce their size, or if not that, they merge into each other. And so there's a lot of impacted of how the school system overall work. And after the COVID, you see that there's a lot of changes, a lot of difficulty that they have to go through. And so went through the processes, emerged a new problem. So you see that a lot of private schools, we have 200 private schools, about that number. And if we were to have all schools closed, for example, that would be a detrimental to the public, to the government public school, because there is not enough teachers, there's not enough infrastructure, there's not enough facility to accommodate students. So we have to make sure that private schools survive. And in order to survive, they have to get incentive somewhere from the government, and the government have helped that. But despite the fact that we've been getting help, schools still cannot survive. So you see a lot of schools disappear, and it still disappear, and a number of schools did not come back. And because of that, my school, for example, we're one of the stronger ones. We can survive, and we find ways to survive. And before COVID, we only have 7,000 students. So after COVID, we have a surge of 7,000 students to 21,000. This is just to say that students from other schools, that their school were closed, they come to our school. So imagine how many schools closed, that they lose all the students, and then that's why we get a gain of 3 times the student number, from 7,000 to 21,000. That is a big drastic for those schools that closed down. It's very sad. But other schools would be benefit from it, but it's not a happy thing that many schools go bankrupt.
Yes, that's true. And was it difficult maybe adjusting to those new demands, like especially with the huge growth in the student numbers?
It's a happy difficulty. We find it that difficult to meet the demand. We don't have enough facility, we don't have enough classroom, we don't have enough teacher. So we have to continue to build infrastructure. That's why last year we expanded 6 campuses, and this year we expand 4 more campuses. So with that expansion, we still do not meet the demands. So if you are a good school and you school with quality and reputation, then you just continue to build, and you will not be able to meet the demand. So basically, you will be over-needed in a way. So sometimes over-demand face challenges for us, because we have difficulty recruiting staff, teacher, and also fulfill students with such a big number. So this year, it's going to be another problem. So hopefully we can accommodate more by building 4 more campuses by this September.
Right, right. I think another thing that COVID also definitely brought to light was, well, we already live in this digital era, but during COVID, of course, everyone went online. Everything almost like shifted online purely because physically people could not be meeting. So that is a huge thing in this age of digitalization. So in terms of like incorporating more digital literacy, because you also mentioned how there's this disparity still between like urban and rural areas, for example, incorporating those digital literacy skills and technological skills, how would you say the Cambodian education system is evolving to meet the digitalization needs that are growing, and especially in rural areas? How do you think that's going right now?
COVID have brought a lot of changes to everywhere in the world, not just in education, but in all sectors. We become expert in online and Zooms and so on. And everyone now is cut down expenses by not going to meeting, but online meeting. So there's a lot of pro after COVID. There's a lot of benefit, and people learn a lot and acquire digital knowledge. So that is sometimes is a plus for many sectors. Education sector is no difference. A lot of schools cut down expenses by using technology. and expanding on the technology and make it worthwhile and utilize it in a very positive way. So we see that the government have implemented and encouraged technology usage and also technical skill implemented in school. So all of that have enhanced the technological advancement in Cambodia. But it's a little bit difficult to apply it in the rural area where modernity is still lacking, and the disparity between public and private schools and urban and rural school. So let's wait and see how it's going to be, because this new mandate is recently quite new, and the government have put a lot of focus on education, and they give priority on education, and they even come up with the 8 points education to improve the system. And I quite support that, and I hope that to see it work well. But it's a big task for each point, and I think it needs everyone's support to move forward.
Right, of course. Focusing a little bit more on some of those disparities that you mentioned in terms of access to education, what do you think are the main things? You mentioned like the 8-point plan, for example, from the government side, but what are some other efforts that you've maybe observed also across the private sector, both public and private, to address those disparities and kind of, you know, make education more accessible to all?
For private sector, it's not a difficult things for them to implement. It's a matter of those public schools, especially in the rural area, where funding is quite difficult, and reaching to the rural area with all the supply, modernity, technology is not that easy. It's still very scarcity that schools still facing, and the lack of technology, the lack of resources, the lack of funding, still a major problem facing them. So I think it will take some time. It's a matter of how much fund the government allocated to education. But you see there's an increase its mandate that they allocate more funding to education. And just hoping that they have more funding next term also, next mandate also, to put into education to expand technology, not just implement the 8-point, but implement it forcefully and with reality. And I think that the 8-point is quite good, very impressive, but it's a matter of how fast we can do it, the speed and the availability of resources. So to me, I'm very supportive of Dr. Hun Chunrong's 8 plans, and I believe that it's very worth it to look into it and work together to make sure that it is well implemented and studied through. And it's a matter of how much fun we get from the government to implement it, yes.
Of course.